What's good, YouTube? So, I got a pretty decent topic here today. I've actually kind of been putting this topic off for a while, and I'll kind of explain why. But today I'm gonna go and show you guys a couple of my favorite VSTs and a couple of presets and different things. I might show you a couple other things, but I got a few things pulled up right now. But I've been kind of avoiding this topic. Reason being is because I have or not customers. I'm sorry. I have supporters that will actually hit me up and ask me about what VSTs do I use and what sounds, what presets am I using, and truthfully, I don't really use that many different VSTs. Like I have several different ones, but I typically only use about the same three, maybe four different VSTs. And usually when I do uh, go ahead and use different VSTs. When I'm making a beat, I'll use, say for example, let's say I'm using Nexus. I might end up using Nexus for every melody that I end up putting in there. Typically, for whatever reason, what I tend to do is when I make beats, I keep I like to have the VSTs, like I keep the VSTs the same. You don't have to do this at all by any means whatsoever, but sometimes the VSTs, all the sounds of the VSTs that they have that are already preset sounds, a lot of them will tend to go with one another because if you notice, if you look through the VST preset settings, it's usually two sounds that are stock like single sounds that they put together and then created a different sound in that VST. So that's why sometimes I end up sticking with all purity, all expand, all nexus. And I'll switch up and add in there as need be. But that's why I do that because lots of times those sounds actually go well together. So what all the sounds in purity tend to kind of mesh well together, or you can find ones that will more than likely mesh well together. So I tend to do that. Um, but one of my favorite VSTs right now currently is actually expand. I don't really have like a particular preset in expand that I like, but what I will say is I like the selection of expand, and I like how it's organized. I like how they have soft pads, bright pads, action pads, and getting familiar with what these different terminologies mean and like how these type of plugins and presets work is very crucial and very key. So, for example, you guys know that I use a lot of pads in my beats. If you were to say, for example, a person that doesn't know what a pad is, you may read that and have no idea how to actually use that sound. So let's just say, for example, let's say you have no music knowledge at all whatsoever, and we've got electric pianos, right? Let's say you don't know what an electric piano is. Of course, this is crazy, but let's pretend you don't know what an electric piano is. Because you don't have the knowledge of what it is, you don't really know how to use it necessarily. So if I gave you, I don't know, if I gave you a hammer and then you said, "Oh, this will make a really good paperweight. It's heavy, it's not too big, it's kind of lightweight, but heavy enough to hold down my papers," and you use it as a paperweight, right? It's doing the job, but it's not doing the job that it was intended to do. So once I show you, hey, you take this tool and this is a hammer, you use it to drive nails into wood. Now it's a more effective way to use that tool. So it's good to know what each one means. So it's good to know what pads are and what they mean by soft and bright. So soft, if they're using terms like soft, it means it's more of like a ambient, kind of faded, kind of in the background type of noise. If they're using something like bright or I forget the other one that they use, but if they use something like bright, it's more out there and more in your face. And then you got action pads. So like for example, an action pad is more or less an arpeggiator or an ARP. So people call them ARPs. So people don't know what ARPs are. An ARP is an arpeggiator, and the word arpeggiate literally means to like move, like wiggle and vibrate. So when something is arpeggiating, it's wiggling, it's vibrating, and it's moving. So that's how you can use these terms and understanding what these terms fall under to know how to use them. So, for example, something like a soft lead. If you know what a lead is, you know a lead is something kind of like your say you make a beat and you have a flute in there, and that flute only drops when the hook and everything drops, and it's only in that portion. That's your lead. So it kind of lead. It's like I guess in a way it kind of leads you into the hook or it leads you into what the entire song sounds like because you know when your hook drops typically it's all your sounds playing all at once so it leads you into that. I don't know if that's why the name lead came about or anything like that, but this is just how I remember it and kind of organize it in my brain so I understand how it works. So when you have a soft lead, it'd be something like instead of it being like let's say a clarinet like on SpongeBob, how his clarinet is very loud, it's very sharp. You can hear it and it's very present. That would be something as like for example a hard lead. That would be an example of a hard lead or a bright lead. A soft lead would be something like uh, maybe like a not a whistle blowing, but like a type of sound. It's not quite a whistle, but it's just like a soft little sound that you can make a melody with that's consistent. Usually leads are consistent. So it's like flutes, clarinets, or things like that. Things that have that consistently play. So something that might be like a synth or something. You might have a synth lead where it sounds like an electronic type of sound, and it lasts as long as you have the key pressed. So if you're pressing the key, and as long as you have it held, it's going to continue to play that note and that sound. That's typically a lead. So it's good to know these things. So then you got things like ambience and FX. Usually these are stuff that you can use in the background. So like, let's say you make like a very simple melody to a beat. That's kind of like a 1 2 3 1 2 3 type of beat. Very simple. You can add an ambient pad or an ambient sound in the background. So it'll typically these are like pads, but they're like moving pad sounds. So they sound really soft and they sound really quiet. So here I can probably click on and give you an example. I don't know what this one sounds like. You hear how like as long as I have this pressed, it's making a noise and it's kind of soft and kind of push. You can push that back to the background. That's what in the ambience or like the FX or sometimes the FX could be like literally sounds. So like you have some FX in Purity where there's race car sounds like a car starting up, and I actually use those FX from Purity in the song. Butterfly Coupe. So like when you hear the car start and the engine starting and the car taking off and all that, all of those sounds are actually found in Purity. And so I use that. I use a couple of FXs in there. Then you got things like vocals. That's usually like a voice that you can actually play. So it's kind of be like those like that type of sound. Like it's usually like a voice like that. It's not like somebody you could type in a word and they start speaking. It's not quite like that. Then you've got things like your bells, your guitars, of course. Most people know what that is. Hits are usually like for the best way I can describe a hit is if on the Soldier Boy song, "Crank That Soldier Boy," that doom that happens in the beginning, that doom doom doom. Soldier Boy, tell him that little sound. It almost sounds like a sound from like a video game when you click on the start button and it kind of makes that sound or something like that. That's called a hit. So Soldier Boy used that and Crank That, and then uh, Young Chop is notorious for using a lot of hits. That's usually how he kind of like drops his beats is using a hit or like he'll use a combination of like strings or something like that. So getting familiar with what the terminology is on and what they mean is usually pretty good. So you got like polysynths. Polysynths, the word poly literally means many. Synths is just like a sound, right? So like I was saying earlier, if you press a key, it's going to play as long as you have the key pressed. That's a synth. Poly means it has multiple, so it's going to be like multiple synths playing at one time. So we'll just click on a random one, and it probably sound like multiple sounds playing at the same tone. I don't know what this one sounds like. Oh, wait a minute. And as long as I hold it, it plays. But you can hear multiple sounds in there. And if you notice, it'll actually tell you what the two sounds are, rich plus belly. So you can actually go in here and actually change these. And I don't know, let's just add that in there. Oh, wait a minute. I forget how you actually do it. Because you can change it. So like I could have this one here and then I could also add, I don't know, let's just add that one in there. Now I have these two sounds playing together. So it's good to kind of sit here and get familiar with the actual VST, the presets and whatnot. And you can actually make your own presets. So say you get a combination of some sounds and you tweak it a little bit by playing with the levels, the little FX and the panning and the left and the right on the sound, and then you can actually go in here and actually turn some sounds into ARPs, and you can kind of play with this and see. These are like the notes how they break down, like if it's going to be an 8 bar type of loop. I don't know how to I don't know how to explain this as well, to be honest with you, but you can go in here and actually kind of create and make your own sounds. You can play with the attack, the decay, the release, all this stuff, like all these things you can tinker with and either edit a sound or even create your own sound. So these are like the reverb sounds. So you can sit here and change how the reverb sounds on those particular sounds and kind of customize it. So getting familiar with your VSTs is very key if you want to kind of create some really good sounds. And you can, like I say, you can create your own presets. But I like to go in and pick out the sounds that I like, and each time I make a beat, I try not to be like, okay, I want to go back and use this one. Let me go back and grab that one, right? So the one that I always typically go to is Purity, and one of my favorite sounds within Purity is Fast Synth and this partial one right here. I probably have to do this because it's acting weird. There we go. And this one you guys have heard me use a million times. So if you've been wondering what that sound was, it's Impurity, and that's it right there. That's one of my all-time favorite sounds. There's that one. There's another. Well, there is one in Expand that I like, but I got to keep that one. I got to keep that one to myself. And then there's several in Omnisphere that I like. Now, I actually used to have Omnisphere, but Omnisphere is not cooperating with me, and it may even crash this if I open it, so I'm not going to open it. But Omnisphere is another good, excellent VST. That's one of my top tier ones. I'd have to say Omnisphere, Expand, Purity. Um, you can throw Nexus in there. I don't use Nexus hardly at all, but it has a plethora of sounds. And then your Electra and Electra X. If you had those kind of five VSTs, you're really pretty much covered. There's a lot more VSTs that you can get that are a lot better, and I probably will upgrade and get me some more VSTs so I can kind of switch up the sound a little bit, kind of start playing around with other stuff. But if you have those five VSTs, you can really make some solid beats. You will never really need much more past that. But if you have extra stuff, of course, it's going to make it a little bit better. So I also wanted to show you guys kind of some of my favorite VSTs on the mixing aspect. So my first VST of all time favorite is Halftime. I believe Halftime is like $10, and you can go and get it from what is this? These people call Cable Guys, I think. Yeah, Cable Guys. But this is basically like gross beat, the half speed gross beat that that most people are accustomed using. But this is Halftime. You can actually sit here and play with it a little bit more. So you can determine how fast it fades in and how fast it fades out as far as it being in half speed. You can create how the bar actually loops. So you can say, I want this to be in half speed, but I want the melody that I make to loop in 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bars, or 8 bars. I never go and do like a 16th bar, 1/8 bar, or nothing like that. I don't mess with that because these are gonna throw your timing off based upon where your BPM is. This is gonna if you tinker with this and don't have a matching BPM that goes along with this, is gonna sound funny. But you can go in and show like, all right, I want it to fade after 4 bars. I want it to fade in and be at fully half speed, and then I want it to fade out at another 4 bars or whatever. However you want, you can go in here and tinker with this. I think this is a really excellent one. I really wish I still had gross beat for whatever reason. My gross beat isn't working properly. It's the demo version because there's some other presets within gross beat that I really do actually like. And actually, I can add gross beat in here to show you guys some stuff, but it won't allow me to like save things on that and whatnot. So gross beat is another excellent VST that I use, and I probably will actually just go ahead and buy this directly from FL Studio. But one of the ones that I used to use quite a bit, what preset wise, was I would always go to this when I would use my half speed. You can actually sit here and change the settings to the with this, and this will change how your half speed actually works and everything, and how it actually comes in and goes out. But I would use this quite a bit. I would use the slow triplet. Chief Keef was notorious for using these in Young Chop. I've used the vinyl stop for like little, like to make the beat drop or whatever in there. So little effects like that, just different things like that. Or the vinyl off is another cool one. There's another one that's like a vinyl on or something like that is kind of cool. Using reverse is pretty nice. Oh, there's the vinyl on. You're using reverse and put your melodies in reverse is nice. I really need to get this VST back again and not have the trial version so that I can go back and start tinkering with these. Now you have other things called gates. The gates are really cool. So the gates will actually be like it'll mute the melody. So let's say you got a 4 bar loop and every other bar it'll mute. So like you could have a melody playing and first bar it plays, second bar it doesn't, third bar it plays, fourth bar it doesn't, and it gives it a different kind of vibe. So it kind of sounds like it's going on, off, on, off. And it gives it a really cool effect on certain melodies and whatnot. So that's another one. The halftime and the settings and growth speeds are I like those two VSTs quite a bit. Now, my favorite VST on the mixing side, people will sit here and tell you and till they're blue in the face that you need all these different mixing VSTs. You need this, that, and the third. This right here is your bread and butter. This is all you will ever need to mix your to mix your 80 or your 808s and your melodies to make a basic, very simple beat. This is all you're gonna need because you don't want to over edit and over mix your beats because you want to keep it as raw of a sound that you have. So you want to have as much of the raw material and the raw sound of whatever the instruments that you put into your beat while having it as clean as possible. So let's say this is the solid sound that that you have playing, and let's just say you have a circle this big around it of unnecessary noise. What editing does is it tightens up that circle to the point to where it's as close to just this raw sound as possible. So if you don't mix it, you're going to have a lot of unnecessary noise, which is going to have this big ball of unnecessary noise around this mass circle. So the editing process pretty much erases all of that, cleans it all up to where you're only hearing this. So you don't need to go out and spend an arm and a leg on VSTs and go crazy just to be able to mix your sound. What you want to do is get to the raw sound of your whatever the instruments that you're mixing, and then leave the rest up to the engineer. Because if you do too much, sometimes it makes the job on the engineer much harder, and sometimes it makes the job on the artist harder too because you've mixed the 808s too much, and now it's not hitting how they want it to hit. Or they have one sound in there that they hear kind of in the background, they really like it, but they want it to be more present, those types of things. So you don't want to get in the habit of over editing stuff and going too far, which is why I say it's good to just have something that's plain Jane and as simple as this. This is all you're ever going to need to kind of edit your do a basic edit on your beats to just make it sound palatable and get an artist on the beat, and then get that song and all that material mixed down and get it to an engineer. So I don't want to keep you guys too long. I already had you for 17 minutes, which they went by pretty quick. But I wanted to kind of give you guys a good explanation on kind of my favorite VSTs, some of the presets, and kind of how to look at the presets and understand what you're looking at, what you've got going on. So again, like I said, man, I don't use a whole lot of VSTs. I try to keep it simple. But if you've got a plethora of VSTs, go through and play with them. Take the time one day to maybe not sit down and make a beat, but literally to sit here and just play with sounds, learn how they work, and learn how the VST works. But that's all I got for you guys, man. That's it. It's Milan Makes Beats again. You know what I'm saying? So drop a like in the comments, or drop a comment in the comment section. Drop a like on the give me a thumbs up. But either which way, even if you dislike it, man, go ahead and put a dislike. If you have an issue with some of the content that I put out, or you want to see other things, or whatever the case is, or you have a polite critique or something like that, drop in the comment section. You know what I mean? Like, just be active on the page so it helps the algorithms and kind of help push and promote me and put me out there like I need to, so I can continue to do these things for you guys. Um, but that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your Sunday. If you guys need anything else from me, just reach out, and we can kind of get things going from there. So we're at 18 minutes. I ain't gonna hold you guys too long. Y'all enjoy your Sunday. If you want to follow me on all social media, it's Milan Makes Beats. If I got it, you'll find me. If I don't, you won't. But shoot, that's it, man. That's all I got for you guys today. Enjoy your Sunday and peace.